Good morning. My name is Professor Bob Vink, the Chair of Connectivity, Traumatic Brain Injury Australia, and it is my pleasure to welcome you all to the launch of Connectivity's Concussion Short Course. Let me start by stating that in the spirit of reconciliation, Connectivity acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respect to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders peoples of today. Connectivity is an Australian-wide not-for-profit organisation linking together patients, carers, researchers, clinicians and healthcare professionals to build the evidence base and improve outcomes for people following traumatic brain injury of all severities, including concussion. While much of the data about the incidence of concussion in Australia is old and outdated, we do know that each year more than 180,000 people suffer a concussion in Australia. To put that into perspective, you could fill the MCG almost twice over with the number of concussions that occur in Australia every year. While 10% will be hospitalised, most of the others will not present to a medical centre and don't even know they've been concussed. In sport, even if they do know, many will not report their concussion to teammates, coaches or family for fear of being removed from the game. Thankfully, the consequences of concussion, be they short-term or long-term, are now better understood and management is continually improving. Creating this short course on concussion was therefore a priority for Connectivity, especially given the need to educate the community about the increasing significance of concussion on an individual's life and that of society in general. The clinicians featured in the course are sports Dr Gill Cowen and neurologist Dr Chris Levy. We also feature 4 people with lived experience, plus leading concussion researcher Professor Lindy Fitzgerald and AFL ex-footballer and commentator Mr Matthew Pavlich, who is a Connectivity advocate, and they both provide introductions and conclusions. The course would not have been possible without Dr Jenna Ziebel from the University of Tasmania and her team at the Wicking Dementia Centre, who designed and created the online short course in consultation with Professor Fitzgerald and the Connectivity team, supported by Connectivity Research Associate Dr Alexandra Goetz. Moreover, the Connectivity Expert Committee provided important expert feedback for key materials used in the course, and these will be available for download to all course participants. Without further ado, let me now introduce Professor Lindy Fitzgerald, the CEO of Connectivity, to give her welcome and outline how the launch and the Q&A session will proceed. Lindy.
Thanks very much, Bob, and thank you all for joining us to launch Connectivity's online concussion short course. We are really excited to be launching this course, which aims to educate the community on concussion. In this course, you'll learn what a concussion is, how concussion can be sustained, as well as the signs and symptoms of these injuries. You will also learn about management approaches for concussion and about the impact a concussion can have on everyday life. But firstly, a few housekeeping notes. You may have seen that we are recording this event. As all of our attendees have their cameras off, hopefully, only panel members will be recorded. The entire launch video will be posted to the Connectivity website and YouTube channel later today, and we'll send you a link so you can forward it on if you wish. We'll be showing a short video as part of this launch. If you have any trouble viewing this video this morning, it's now available on our YouTube channel and the Connectivity website. We'll be conducting a Q&A session at the end of the short video, chaired by one of our team members, Naomi Fuller. Any questions you have for this session should be typed in via the Q&A box, which features at the top of your screen. If you've opened Teams via a web browser, you may not be able to see the Q&A function. If this is the case, please direct any questions via email to holly@connectivity.org.au. So that's HOLLY, holly@connectivity.org.au. Naomi and the team will read and direct questions to the relevant panel member during our Q&A. So we'll now watch a brief video on the concussion short course.
I wish I had a t-shirt that said I've got a brain injury.
I went to go call someone I call every day. So I was like my brother and I forgot his name.
When I came to, I couldn't make words. I literally could not speak.
To recover from a concussion as severe as what I had, it's a full-time job.
Hello, I'm Professor Lindy Fitzgerald, CEO of Connectivity Traumatic Brain Injury Australia. We at Connectivity are really excited to bring you our online concussion short course. Knowledge about concussion and how it should be managed is critical for people who encounter these injuries firsthand. Educators, coaches, first aid personnel, healthcare providers, aged care workers and corrective service workers all need to be able to recognise when a concussion has occurred so as to ensure appropriate care is given. Managing a person's recovery over the days and weeks that follow, in line with best practice, will minimise recovery time and reduce the risk of long-term symptoms. The person themselves may not always realise the extent of the issue, and so carers may potentially need to take charge, armed with knowledge and a clear plan. This short online course provides that knowledge and guidance, as well as advice on who to contact if symptoms persist. The course delivers resources that can be used by anyone who encounters concussion.
This course has been designed to help us better understand concussion and is especially important if you may be the first person on the scene when someone experiences one of these injuries, whether that be at home, work, exercising, or at a sporting event.
This free online concussion short course has been designed for anyone who wants or needs to know more about concussion. With a simple login process, you can work through the course in your own time and at your own pace. The course has been designed to be completed within an hour and a half. The Concussion Short Course features experts in concussion as well as those with lived experience to provide you with a varied viewpoint and deeper understanding of what happens when a person suffers a concussion. Over 50 stakeholders, including the Connectivity Expert Advisory Panel, contributed to the course content. We partner with the University of Tasmania, who are experts in delivery of online courses. There's a large range of downloadable material, as well as the option to purchase a personalised certificate of completion at the end of the course.
I'm Michael Roberts, CEO of the West Australian Football Commission. We take concussion seriously. A concussion can potentially cause lifelong issues for players, so we want to educate players and coaches on the signs and symptoms of concussion and what to do should a concussion occur, be that at training, during a match, or in general life. As an organisation, we are currently working through a number of changes that support the diagnosis, treatment, and recovery process for anyone that may sustain a concussion while playing football. We are proud to support Connectivity on the launch of this initiative and look forward to working together with them to promote, enhance, and educate our community on this important health issue.
Good morning, I'm Naomi Fuller from Connectivity. I'll be moderating the question and answer session this morning with the help of my colleague Holly. If you'd like to submit a question, please do so via the Q&A function at the top of your screens, or alternatively you can email Holly at holly@connectivity.org.au. We'll work through any questions as soon as they come through. To start with, I have great pleasure in introducing you to our panel today. If all our panellists could now please turn on their cameras and their microphones. Our panellists today are Professor Lindy Fitzgerald, CEO of Connectivity and Professor of Neurotrauma at the Curtin University, jointly appointed by the Parent Institute. Dr Gill Cowen, sports doctor, general practitioner and member of the WA Concussion Network. Troy Kirkham, Executive Manager of Junior, Youth and Community Football at the West Australian Football Commission. And Rowan Powell, an ex-WAFL player who has suffered numerous concussions. We'll go through and just have a look at what questions may have come through, and panellists, I will direct the questions to you this morning. Okay, come through. Gill, a question for you. Does completing the course make me an expert in concussion?
This course isn't a professional qualification or accreditation. What we aim to do is provide knowledge that will make you more confident in your actions if you're a first responder to a concussion, and it helps people to understand the signs and symptoms that a concussion can present with, and reinforces the importance of people seeking medical attention if they've potentially sustained a concussion. It also discusses different recovery trajectories, because these may be encountered with concussion, and it features various downloadable resources that can help not only to raise awareness of the concussion, but also provides practical steps that can help facilitate recovery.
Fantastic, thank you, Jill. Lindy, this one probably might be best for you. Who has the course been designed for?
Yeah, the course is, it's been designed for a broad range of potential participants. So the language is not particularly technical, so people in the general community, people like sports coaches and umpires and parents could easily understand the content, but there's sufficient depth of content so that it can actually serve as a useful refresher for health professionals such as physiotherapists, occupational therapists, GPs, ED nurses and so forth. We see it as a resource particularly helpful also for people who encounter concussion in the line of their work. Perhaps they might be first responders in their work in aged care, or perhaps as a school nurse or teachers, and also people perhaps who work in aged care, and also the people who might work in domestic violence and interpersonal violence refuges. So it's quite broad in its scope.
I'm sorry, another one's coming through. Lindy, probably another one for you. How do we access the course and how long does it take to complete?
Okay, so we access the course by going to the Connectivity website. So that's www.connectivity.org.au. And the course, so it's right on the front page, the button, and you just click through, and that takes you through to the University of Tasmania's site where you'll conduct the course. And the course will take about an hour and a half. It's designed to be completed within that sort of time frame.
Thank you. Troy, question here regarding the West Australian Football Commission partnering or helping to promote the course for connectivity. Why was this important to the organisation to support the initiative?
Yeah, really good question, Naomi. And from the WA Football Commission perspective, we're really invested in the health and safety of our players and all of our participants across WA. So it's a real priority for us. As Michael sort of alluded to in the introduction, we take concussion really seriously and the impact on their players, just not through their sporting careers and their sporting lives, but also in their lives outside of football as well. And although that we're a sporting organisation, we would hope that a number of other sporting organisations would also pick up the course and run with it, but also sectors outside of sporting as well. We see it as a really a course that, I suppose, educates in really valuable knowledge for everyone around concussion, and we think it's really relevant for not only adults but also children involved in sport as well. So we're really proud to partner with Connectivity to be a part of this.
Thank you, Troy. Rowan, probably going off the back then of what Troy said, there has been a question here about your involvement in the course. Obviously, you have experience with concussion. The question was, why was it important to you to be involved?
Thanks, Naomi. Obviously, the biggest reason is lived experience. So obviously, Connectivity reached out. Unfortunately, I suffered 8 concussions and had a long recovery process. Obviously, alongside myself, there's 3 other people which aren't obviously sport related, which have obviously suffered the consequences of concussion. Therefore, obviously, going through the recovery process that I have, I feel really strongly, obviously, about sharing our stories so people can learn from them And so the community has a greater understanding about concussion. Yes, some people recover from them, but not all the time. It's so simple as well. It can be a longer process which can be drawn out, and it can affect more than a lot of aspects in our lives.
Thank you. Jill, question here that's come through. Does the course cover the trajectory of TBI, rehabilitation, recovery, prognosis and long-term?
So the course offers a broad spectrum of knowledge relating to concussion. It's starting off with what a concussion is, how it can occur, really explains clarifies some of the misconceptions that concussions are sports-related phenomenon, whereas in fact we know that probably only 20% of concussions are sports-related, and that majority of concussions come from falls, traumatic events, motor vehicle accidents, for example. It gives people information on what to do if they see or suspect somebody's had a concussion, when to seek medical attention, and more also, as you asked, explains what the likely recovery trajectories are following the injury. So explains that the most likely outcomes, but also brings knowledge of if you aren't one of those people that recovers in the most expected and typical time, where then you can also seek additional help. Yeah.
Thank you. Rowan, another one's come through. What do you wish you had known or had done differently when you experienced your concussion?
Oh, that's an interesting one, because obviously coming from the sporting background, it's probably just having a better understanding of concussion. Obviously, when I was a bit younger and naive, I probably didn't have the greatest understanding, and as we already touched on, a lot of the time it's hard to get a player off the field at the same time. So it's just understanding that, look, a muscle injury is completely different to a brain injury. You don't know the consequences of it, and obviously having the best understanding and the recovery process in place is very important. So there's a lot I wish I knew, and obviously this course will actually educates and creates awareness is essentially on the topic of concussion, which is really needed for a lot of young players coming through the system.
Thank you. I think that kind of answered another question I've just been given for you, Rowan, which was, what do you hope people learn from the course? I think you possibly kind of touched it, unless there's anything else you'd like to add.
Obviously, I think I've already touched on it, but yeah, just the awareness and obviously the consequences of it. I've probably growing up playing football since I was 13, and then had 8 concussions throughout that period, and you feel like you're untouchable, and then it gets to a point in time where it's all too late, and then you suffer the consequences of a long recovery process, which, as I touched on earlier, impacts more than just your everyday life. It can go further than that, so it's very important just to understand.
Thank you. Jill, questions come through. Are you able to please provide some further information around the WA Concussion Network?
Yeah, sure. So the WA Concussion Network is a group of people within WA who join together on a quarterly basis to share information and update each other about what's happening within the concussion space. And this network includes researchers, clinicians, and other interested members. So, for example, we have school principals attending, school nurses. Troy attends the meeting, and essentially the meeting is to make sure that we share the knowledge that we have and keep practitioners as updated as possible on current research and current studies, for example, that people might want to get involved with to increase, and also to see where there's gaps in knowledge and advocate for further research in those areas. Connectivity has members that also attend the meeting, and essentially it's a group that shares information to make sure that everybody has as much knowledge as possible surrounding concussion and can work to better outcomes for the general population.
Fabulous, thank you. Lindy, will there be information in the course around managing a student with ongoing concussion symptoms?
Yeah, we're not providing particular sort of advice, medical advice for individuals. Obviously, the course is designed to cover the spectrum of people who might experience a range of symptoms. As Jill mentioned, there is a section of the course that refers to persisting post-concussion symptoms, and downloadable materials that provide information on particular healthcare providers that might be of use based on the types of symptoms that people are suffering. So if you sort of look at that material and say, okay, well, this individual has got these kind of symptoms, then therefore it would be sensible for them to go and see this kind of a healthcare practitioner. So there's that downloadable content. And then also on the Connectivity website, we have a lot of other content like that as well. So there are links to that material. So yeah, it does cover those persisting symptoms in that proportion of the population that continues to suffer ill effects as time passes.
Beautiful, thank you. Lindy, sorry, another one for you. There's a little bit of talk about it obviously being beneficial for people in sport, but also for just generally people doing the course. How are Connectivity going to get the word out there that this is available to the general public as well?
Yeah, well, we really do want to spread the word. We are working with Troy, for example, to go through to have connections into other sports. This launch event was sort of taken up and disseminated through the various area health networks around the country, actually. So we'll be pursuing those opportunities to really spread it through the colleges. So the Royal Australian College of GPs, for example, college and associations of physiotherapists and occupational therapists. So, and there'll be a bit of a media push and social media. So we're really encouraging everyone here. You guys are interested, so you're a bit of champions in the space. So we'd love you to spread the word to your colleagues and any networks that you have.
Thank you. Troy, there's another question regarding sport. There are some AFL guidelines already around some concussions, and sometimes they provide some information and some webinars and things. How is that different to this particular aspect of the course?
Yeah, look, from our perspective, this course is really consistent with the information that the AFL puts out in the webinars that they run, and that's really important from our point of view. So there's no mixed messages. Everyone's aligned in terms of their messaging, which is really important. The other thing is that this Connectivity course is probably broader than just sport, so it's really mindful that this covers everyone across the community. The other really important thing from our point of view is that we're really keen to continue to educate people, and the more information and knowledge that we can spread, the better. So that repeated awareness and that repeated education will really help to improve people's knowledge and hopefully the outcomes associated with concussion as well. And I think the final point there is just that this is really relevant for parents of participants as well, not just coaches and umpires that might access some of the AFL courses. So from our point of view, we think this is a really complementary course that sits alongside a lot of the really good information that the AFL has.
Fantastic, thank you. Jill, what would your advice be if someone is suspected to have suffered a concussion?
So I guess my initial advice would be to remove the person to a place of safety. So if you're at the scene when somebody has a suspected concussion injury, they obviously need to be removed to a safe area and have somebody with them. It's always appropriate to seek medical help should you think that somebody has potentially suffered a concussion. And from that point on, the assessment will then guide the next steps in that person's management. Important things to remember again are that sport isn't the only way people can sustain a concussion, and it was interesting hearing what Troy was saying about how important this is for parents, because in fact parents see children bang their heads all the time in all different ways, playgrounds, bicycles, rather than what we think of as true sport. So hopefully this course will give the general public a guidance as to how to recognise there's a potential concussion sustained, and then what to do to seek medical help, whether that be presenting to a GP, presenting to an emergency department, presenting to an Aboriginal medical centre, presenting to an acute care clinic, and also then provides people with additional information associated with the short course fact sheets that can give them further guidance after that initial assessment that they undergo.
Thank you. And I think we might be pretty much wrapping up at the end. Jill, there's probably one more question here for you that I can direct. The course might be good for many, a good start for many health professionals, but in terms of kind of further professional development around concussion, do you have any guidance as to what is potentially best to do?
We're currently involved in the development with the WA Public Health Alliance of a health pathway for concussion in Western Australia. So certainly for Western Australia, that will become a very useful resource for GPs. And I'm hoping that we'll roll out some further education when that is launched. The state head injury units are a fantastic resource for information. Often they'll have limitations about who they can and can't see because of severity of illness and resources, but their websites, particularly, I can speak from WA's side of things, their websites have, again, significant information, and the links to such are related to the connectivity website as well. So they're two good starting places, I think, for concussion. But if there's specific education that people are interested in, I'm very happy to answer further sort of questions relating to that offline, Naomi, by email.
Perfect, thank you. And I think that pretty much wraps up our questions that have come through. I'm getting the nod from my colleague here who's been passing me the notes. If there is anything that we haven't addressed, and there are still some in the questions, we will reply to you directly. So just look out for an email from us from that. But from that, I would like to say that would conclude the question and answer session for today, and I will pass you back to Lindy.
Thank you very much, Naomi, and thanks to all the panel. And thank you all very much for your attendance at the launch of our online concussion short course. This brings our launch event to a close. The video of this launch will be available on the Connectivity website later today, and we'll also email you the link, as I said, so you can forward it on to anyone you think may be interested. We would really like to thank our founding supporters, Curtin University, Monash University and Neurosciences Victoria. Also our supporters, the TAC and the Perrin Institute, and partners, the WA Football Commission and the University of Tasmania Wicking Centre. So to enrol in the online concussion short course, visit us at www.connectivity.org.au. The link is on the front page of the website. We would love it if you'd spread the word to as many people as you can. The more people who are educated on concussion and how to respond should they think someone has suffered a concussion, the better the outcomes will be. Thank you very much.